Hi, everybody. Let's talk about Scotland, shall we? And in particular, the outcome of the Scottish Parliament election results. Now, I got some information I wanted to share with you. So, first of all, let's talk about this. Nicola Sturgeon celebrates a historic SNP election win. And what she references, of course, is this. Here's the Scottish results. And as you can see, the Scottish Nationalist Party, SIC, won 64 seats, 62 constituencies, with the Tories coming in with 5 constituencies, Lib Dems 4, Labour 2, and Greens none. And total number of seats you can see there. If you take the Scottish Nationalist Party 64 seats, add on the Greens 8 seats, and potentially the Liberal Democrats 4 seats, you've got an absolute pro-independence majority sitting in the Scottish Parliament for the next number of years. Now, to put that in context, let's look at what happened back in 1997. So this is going back, obviously, 24 years. And as you can see, 24 years ago, Labour had 56 seats, Lib Dems 10, Tories had none. So Labour's gone from 56 to 2, and the SNP's gone from 6 to 64. And you can see also, by the way, Liberal Democrats' fortunes have waned. They've gone from 10 down to 4. That is the actual reality of what happened in Scotland. And it's time people faced into this. And that's why I agree with Nicola Sturgeon that the UK government should grant the Scottish people a second referendum. Yes, I understand it's divisive, but we have to look at this logically. Back in 2014, when the once-in-a-generation referendum was held with regard to Scottish independence, which was narrowly lost, the argument there was that there wouldn't be another one unless there was a material change in circumstances. Well, there has been a material change in circumstances. The UK has left the EU, yet Scotland voted to stay in the EU. So I think it's really time that what we did was we had this one out once and for all. And I think we should grant the SNP their second referendum. I really do think we should do that. I think morally and ethically, it's the right thing to do, because after all, the majority of Scots clearly want to have a second referendum. But it shouldn't be just on their terms. So let's just crystallize in terms of what would the conditions be for the second referendum. Well, I would make it absolutely clear, were I Boris Johnson, that in the event of Scotland choosing independence, the Bank of England will not guarantee or underwrite any Scottish currency. I don't see why Scotland should have access to the British pound. Scotland will be no longer be British. It will be independent. So it can set up its growth currency or whatever it wants. It can even set up, if it wants, call it the Scottish pound if they want to do that. But it should have no financial underpinning or any stability granted it by the Bank of England. So in other words, Nicola Sturgeon, you want to have your independence, well, you make sure that your currency can stand alone. So there is that. And then there's other things, like, for example, the fact that the SNP are so keen to join the European Union. This is 2021 information. Scotland, I mean, it is actually quite remarkable when you actually look into the data. Scotland's fiscal deficit is 8 times higher than the limit set by the European Union for membership. Now, on that, so basically, Scotland's looking at between 20 and 25% of GDP in terms of budget deficit. The EU sets 3% as the limit. So fundamentally, Scotland has been splashing the cash like it's been going out of business. And that's been funded by English taxes being transferred across the border into Scotland. So point one, the Scottish have to devise their own currency and have to underwrite it themselves. Step two, the Queen must no longer be monarch in Scotland. Yes, I know there's long-standing relationships. Yes, I understand all that, but you can't have it both ways. So I'm afraid in a situation where Scotland is an independent country, Her Majesty must no longer be the monarch in that country. Take that away. Third, a hard border between Scotland and the rest of the UK. We have to accept that Scotland is a separate country to the UK. It may choose to be in the EU or apply to be in the EU. We should accept that if that's what they want and build a hard border. Make sure that Scotland gets exactly what it wants. You want to be independent? Well, you're going to be independent of the rest of the UK economy. And by the way, if you check where most Scottish exports go, they go into the rest of the UK. But let's make it clear, that's not going to be straightforward any longer post-independence. So those are a couple of fundamental changes that I would make to caveat the potential referendum so that the Scots can be really, really clear what they're going to get. And I think that's fair on the Scottish people and is fair on the rest of the UK. I don't believe that the rest of the UK should be able to vote on what happens to Scotland. I don't think that's right, by the way. I've seen some people say that. But even if we did, you might get a majority of English people saying, well, we don't want Scotland anymore. But I think that decision should lie with the Scottish people. If the Scottish people want independence, let them have it. Let them have it good and hard. Let them have it on the basis on which I say, namely that they will find themselves basically having to pay their own way. And by the way, you see all those North Sea oil fields that the Scottish claim? Well, they're not Scottish. Not that the revenues from them are in any way significant. And given that, for example, Nicola Sturgeon is so keen on the climate crisis and the green agenda, I'm sure she wouldn't want to be pumping all that horrible black oil and thus polluting the environment anyway. So I'm not sure how a Scottish economy would function, to be quite honest, post-independent. I also think, by the way, that the UK should instigate then lower corporation rates than those set in Scotland, just for the lols, because that would instantly suck out all the investment that is in Scotland at the moment. Do you really think the large corporations will stay in the socialist SNP nirvana of Scotland? Seriously? No. They have shareholders to report to. Shareholders are driven by financial performance. And Scotland, I don't believe, can deliver that. So as I say, don't get me wrong. As a unionist, I believe in holding the union together, but it can't be at any cost and every cost. And the cost has been too high for too long. Successive English Conservative prime ministers appeasing Scotland, all it does is encourages in the SNP. It's time to call their bluff. It's time to give them the referendum. It's time to decide whether Scotland goes its own way or not. But we can't continue any longer with this pathetic halfway house where the SNP milk the English taxpayer and then spout venom at England. Surely enough is enough. Well, that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comment thread below. Is it time to call Sturgeon's bluff? Is it time to call for the second referendum? Is it time to make it clear that Scotland has to stand entirely on its own two legs, not propped up any longer by English taxes? Look forward to hearing from you. Speak soon.